I like a good meal, obviously. I like a good supper. People ask me all the time about the Last Supper. I'll tell you, I don't have a full-blown memory of the Last Supper. I have glimpses of here and there are things that I know about the Last Supper. It was a Passover feast. It was a Jewish ritual. We had to fast, so we were fasting up until we ate. And even during the eating, there were certain foods we could not eat. I know that when it came time to eat, Jeshua did not eat, and he continued to fast. He was a prolific faster. He fasted often because for him it was a form of, setting all worldly things aside and getting into touching the source. The question that gets asked most about the Last Supper is, what the heck does it mean? This is my body and this is my blood, eat and drink. What the heck is all that about? So Jesus believed that we are all one with God. We are all one with the source. We are all one with this energy. When my son was a little boy, his grandfather died. And he told me, one day he put his hand out and he said, Daddy, I'm touching Grandpa. I said, what do you mean, Kynan? He said, well, when Grandpa died, he became energy, and he became part of the energy, and everything is made of energy, and so because he's now part of the energy. When I reach my hand out, I'm touching Grandpa. He said, I'm also touching you. I said, what do you mean? I'm 5 feet away from you, kind of. He says, yeah, but I'm made of energy, and the floor's made of energy, and you're made of energy, so I'm touching you too. So he had this innate knowledge, this innate information that we are all one, and that understanding of we're all one. Jeshua had his intuition and his belief that things were going to go bad for him. He knew that it was going to end up bad for him. Now, I get the questions all the time about, did Jesus pre-plan with Judas to do what Judas did? No, Judas was a jerk. Judas was our treasurer. He was the one, as we would travel and people would donate and give things to the cause, Judas was the one who handled the money. And money often disappeared, and money often wasn't necessarily 100% accounted for. And when he was offered a reward for Jeshua, he took it. There's no question about it. That there's not some big conspiracy. There's not some big secret thing about Judas and Jesus conspiring to turn Jesus in. Jeshua could see the way the wind was blowing. He could see where it was headed. And this supper is known as the Last Supper. Did he know it was the Last Supper? I have no idea. I wouldn't think so, but I have no idea. However, remember me when you eat and drink. When you hold anything in your hand, right? I am one with that coffee. Not because I just drank it, but because it's made of that same energy. He was simply asking not to forget him. And don't forget me, because in his mind, what he was teaching had to be remembered. What he was talking about had to be remembered. And he knew he wasn't going to be around forever. He knew that that things were happening very quickly, that he was not going to be able to avoid at some point. He knew it was coming. But he also knew that it wasn't an ending. He knew that he had eternal life. He knew that he was, when you die, you don't die, you transition into something different. That's the way the world works. That's the way it all works. And so you actually, this is my belief. When we pass away, it is just like going home. You're going to a place without all your fears and limitations. You're going to a place where you can be in unconditional love all the time. And you can go, okay, I get it. Where you are now with all the anxiety and fears, that's away, right? So crossing over is just going home. And we're here to experience what it likes when we do cross back over. That's what it's really about. It's really about experiencing our fears and our anxieties. And then at some point, and this is what I believe is happening in society right now, at some point, that veil is going to get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. It's going to be less of an issue because we're going to bring, quote unquote, heaven to earth. We're going to bring that place to this place. And it's going to become a very different experience. And I think we're headed that way right now. I truly believe that. From the bottom of my heart, I believe that we are moving into a time of enlightenment, to a time of love. And I think the only reason everybody's, we're having all the loud people yelling on the right and the left, is because they see the change coming. They see the wind blowing. They see it coming. And when they see it coming, it scares them because it takes away their way of life. They're very comfortable in their velvet cages. But they don't realize the rest of us are about to open the cage door and fly. And when we open that cage door and fly, we're going to have an experience that they're going to be not going to be able to deny. And some of them will come and some of them will have to go through a process of some sort, I guess. I have no idea, but we are changing the world for the better. The balance of the world is changing to a more positive, loving place. And the reason things are happening the way they are is because the people who are arguing against are terrified because they see the change coming. And so when you eat and drink, when you breathe your air, when you walk down the street and feel the ground beneath it, think of being love. Think of being what Jesus taught. Think of being that essence of what we're talking about, because that's what when you eat bread and you drink this wine, think of me. That's what that's about. It's about remember the teachings. Remember the teachings daily. Remember the teachings when you're eating. Remember the teachings on, make remembering the teachings habitual. That's what that's about. It's not about some esoteric, crazy thing that makes no sense whatsoever. It's the simplest answer and it's the simplest solution, and it, as Occam's razor would say, and then because it's so simple, it's what happened. It's what's going on. The simplest thing is usually what happened. And in this situation, I'm telling you, that is what happened. I remember that. But we try to wrap our mind around esoteric statements and add stories to what they mean and could mean. And that's happened for thousands of years now with lots of different people from lots of different countries. And then some people didn't like what that country said, or that interpreter said, so they changed it to what they think it said. So follow what's true in your heart. And to go back to the Buddha again, I'm going to say this again because it's one of the best statements ever. Believe no one, even me, unless it rings true to your heart. Believe no one, even me, unless it rings true to your heart. It's your personal journey. You have to decide within yourself what you believe, and you do that through intuition. Hear something and go, yeah, I believe that. And when you start to realize the things you're believing, if you were a practicing Catholic before, you're going to have some time of adjusting to the fact that you're divine, because you've been told for years that you're not. And the fact that things are ringing true that aren't part of the doctrines. And if they're not ringing true, it might be because of your training, your mind training that you've had since childhood. But when you just take a breath and relax and read something or hear something and it rings true to you, that is your truth. And you need to follow your truth and find out your own pathway. But let's go back to the Eucharist and all that. It's just an overblown story. He just said, remember me. And he did fast, So I guess that's about all I can really say about the Last Supper and the Eucharist. So I don't have much more memories other than the very few things. But I do know that he wanted to be remembered for the work, not for the name. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon. See you. Bye.